What's going on? My name is Deon Tillman, and on behalf of the DreamCon staff, I'd like to welcome you all to DreamCon 2024. This year, we got a lot of exciting things going on, from panels, gaming tournaments, cosplayers, talent, you name it. Anything can happen at DreamCon. We even have a few special guests who will be dropping by to talk about their experiences this weekend. Some of them are familiar faces, and some of them are brand new. So stay tuned, because it's something I promise you won't want to miss. What's going on, everybody? I'm Deon Tillman here on behalf of DreamCon. We're here at DreamCon 2024, and I am here with Chase Conley. How you feeling, Chase?
I feel good, man. What's good? I'm glad to be here. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Now, this is your first convention, right? Your first DreamCon.
This is my first DreamCon, for sure. I was living vicariously through a few friends of mine last time, but I wanted to make that a reality this time. Okay. So here I am, It's been great.
Now, where are you from?
I'm from Los Angeles, originally from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, East Coast.
East Coast, yeah. But I've been in L.A. like 13 years, so I don't know at what point you become an Angelino, but I've been in L.A. longer than I've lived in most places.
So that's what it is, then.
You know what I mean?
Yep, that's what you gotta claim.
Yeah, so I'm bi-coastal, but I guess, Charlotte by way of Los Angeles. Okay. Wait, no, it's the other way around.
Los Angeles by the way of Charlotte.
You got me.
No, we good. So, like, in that aspect, you flew out from L.A. When did you get here?
So I got here yesterday. We landed around noon. Which was dope. And what's my homie's name that played Franklin in GTA?
Solo.
So yeah. I was like, yo, we got into the car, and I was like, yo, this dude look mad familiar. And I was like, oh, this is Franklin. Like, that was cool. And legendary other roles as well, so we had a chat. That was cool. But yeah, we got here around noon yesterday.
Okay. Yeah. Now, we got a little bit of that. Now, tell them about yourself. So, like, what do you... I know, but they don't know. What is your bio looking like? What is some of the stuff? Because most people know you from X-Men.
Right.
But your catalog is a little stronger than that. So what else?
Yeah, it's interesting because you put the same love into every project. Some of them have bigger IPs than others, right? And then, X-Men has a crazy fan base. But so I just finished up directing the first season of X-Men 97, half of the season. Shout out to Emmett Yonemura, who was the other director, and Jake Hestorena, who was our soup on that. But we just got 2 Emmy noms,
yes,
so
sir.
That's fire.
That's that round of applause for that one, right there.
Yeah.
Yes.
But fingers crossed we'll get some. But it's dope to be nominated regardless. But for people that don't know me, I work in animation primarily in the story department, which is like storyboarding, directing, episodic directing, so on and so forth. But I also do character design, environmental design for animation as well.
Oh, okay.
And so I've worked on a lot of projects. Even comics before that. I had another career prior to this, but I've been working in animation like 13 years. So I moved out to L.A. with one of the people responsible for changing the trajectory of my life and career, Carl Jones, the big homie. He's going to be here. I don't know if he's here today, but we're doing a panel on Sunday. I met him through LaShawn Thomas, and he loved my work. There was a point where I was switching my work to look more like the things that I consumed. And for a while, I was working in comics, but I was like, I want to see black anime. That's what I want to see. So he was just starting Black Dynamite.
Right.
So he hit me up and was like, yo, I love this show. I got this show. I love your work. And it happened to be it looked and was influenced by Takeshi Koike, who did like Redline. People know him for like the Afro Samurai Pilot. A lot of cool stuff. But anyway, before I knew it, he was like, yo, I want you to come work on this project. And I was in LA. That was 13 years ago, then I just never left. So since then, I've worked on a bunch of stuff. That was the one thing that I did as a designer that was like real monumental. But from that, I was like, I wanted to direct. So I changed my department from art department to story department. So I've been on a bunch of stuff from Major Lazer. I was a series director on that. 2 or 3 Spider-Man iterations. Okay. Sonic 2 I worked on. Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Okay. Shout out to Will Fang and Studio Trigger. That was really dope. That was my first anime credit. A bunch of stuff in between. 4 movies with Warner Brothers, like Batman Gotham by Gaslight, Teen Titans Judas Contract. What else? So I'm blanking on that. Death of Superman.
Blanking because the catalog is strong.
Yo,
like I said,
there's
like
a lot.
It's too much.
Yeah, there's a lot. Sometimes I'm just like, yo, am I talking too much? Because I think it's like it's been 13 years, and I've been blessed to not be out of work the whole 13 years. And then sometimes you take multiple jobs. So, but yeah, I did that. Blood of Zeus season 1. Kipo, Age of the Wonder Beast. I was also Emmy nominated for DreamWorks, so I did 2 seasons of that.
So
and a bunch of other stuff as well in between.
So even with this, so you said you got the trajectory changed when you started with Black Dynamite.
Yeah,
that was the first. Like that was the first switch into like the animation.
Correct.
Like, how did that feel? Like, I know you just said right there you've been blessed for 13 years to be able to like keep a job.
Right.
How does that even feel to say that? Like, you know, we talk about we're at DreamCon, so we talk about the fact of chasing your dreams, going for things.
Right.
Like, you started a Black Dynamite, and mind you, it's one of like my favorite movies and animated shows.
When I
as
found
well.
out they were making that show, I was like, wait, like the movie?
Listen,
he was like, yo, an adaptation of that. I was tripping.
Listen.
That was crazy.
My friends who know me know I was pitching that like I was on it. Like, that's the kind of thing it was. So, like, the fact that you started there and you just ran through so many things. The fact you can't even remember everything that you've done.
Oh, yeah, it's so much.
Right off back.
Yeah.
But to go from there to get into X-Men.
Yeah.
How, like, what was that like, you know, line of that deal? Like, how did you even get involved with X-Men?
You know, it's interesting. So,
X-Men 97, to be specific.
Yeah, so the first part of your question, which is how did that feel as far as Black Dynamite is concerned, you know, it goes back to the themes that we were talking about as far as dreams, right? Which that being the relevant term for this con. I was at a point where I was working to get a job. I wasn't working to be happy. I wasn't doing the kind of content that made me happy. So I switched, and I had an interesting comment. Because I remember all this vividly. It was an interesting comment when I used to post my stuff on DeviantArt, which I've stopped for years, but I have been on there since I was 14. And I posted a bunch of stuff that was kind of like anime influenced and Japanese video game influenced. And I posted a picture of myself one day, and this dude was like, yo, I didn't even know you were Black, looking at your artwork.
Nah, that's crazy.
And I was like, you know what? I ain't even mad at that, because I didn't draw anybody to look like me, because I was drawing things to get work. And I didn't see us represented in media. You know, it's one of those subconscious things. You just don't really think about it like that. You know what I'm saying? And so I was like, you know what? I want to let my artwork, and also coupled with LaShawn Thomas at the same time, I talked to him about it. And he was like, you know, it's a lot of people that work in our industry, and they love anime, but you don't see that in their work, which is why you don't see a lot of that in American cartoons. But a lot of the staff, they're fans of that stuff.
Right.
So I was like, you know, I don't want to be that person. I want to wear my influences on my sleeve. And the first thing I did was start drawing people that look like me in the styles of the work that I was influenced by. And I kid you not, in 10 months, I was in Los Angeles with a job, because Carl loved all of my stuff. He saw my draftsmanship and so on and so forth. So it validated the fact that people want to see honesty in your work.
Right.
And that's as an artist, is like the best thing you could ever wish for, because it's all confidence based. You know, you got to feel confident about what you're doing, because you got to take risk. You know, you are putting yourself, this vulnerability in being an artist. So you're putting yourself out there for people to judge, hoping that they accept it. And when you're being as honest as you can, that's even better. And so the segue with that is 13 years past that, I was working in animation, and I kind of felt burned out, because anime is just now. I knew when I was 12, this was taking over.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The real one's new.
Yeah, we already knew, right? So but the industry moved so slow stateside. They kind of had to be beaten into submission to be like, yo, this is the wave.
Right.
This is what people want to see. And it was just far and few between where you had projects stateside where we were allowed to use those influences in the work. So I was like, yo, I'm not happy. And then I was like, well, what was the last thing I was doing when I was happy? When was the last time I was happy? These are questions.
That's a deep question you got to really self-reflect on.
Right. And so I went back to 4th grade, because it was purer then.
Now, hold
It's
up.
before I had bills.
Wait.
You know what I'm
You
saying?
went back to 4th grade.
Yeah.
Just estimate how many years in between that was where you're like reflecting on when the last time you were happy.
So the point in which I was asking myself that?
Yeah.
It was probably a year before I figured out when that was. But I'm 38 now. I'm getting up there. I'm still young. I'm immortal. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, it was a while, though. You're talking about over 20 years. Dang. So, and you don't know it, because you're chasing after work. You know, because that's the nature of society, right? You got to pay bills and stuff. So, yeah, it was a thing where I ended up essentially drawing what made me happy the last time I was happy. And it was when I saw Ninja Scroll for the first time. I was way too young to see that in 4th grade. And X-Men, the animated series, was on. Okay. So then I just started drawing X-Men after work. I was working on the Boondocks. And after work, I was drawing an X-Men a day in Yoshiaki Kawajiri style. And then everybody in my industry knew exactly what I was doing.
Okay.
And so when they started staffing the show, people just were like, yo, have you talked to Chase? Have you talked to Chase? Have you talked to Chase? And I was taking a break for the first time in 10 years. I was at my mom's crib, and the line producer called me and was like, yo, you want to direct this show?
And so you weren't even seeking the job.
No.
You minding your business, watching TV or whatever it was. Yeah. Somebody said, hey, you're like, wait, what?
Yeah. Just like that, which was crazy. And it was the job I wanted too, you know, because there were only 2 IPs that I was like, yo, I got to do these before I'm done. Ninja Turtles and X-Men, because they were so instrumental to me as a kid, you know what I mean, as far as like inspiration and things go, you know. So I was able to do X-Men. I haven't worked on the Turtles project yet.
Keywords yet.
Yet.
Because it's coming.
It's coming.
Now, you said y'all were nominated. You say, well, first of all, you directed half of the series.
Yeah, so
which half?
The even numbers. So 2, 4, 6, 8 in the finale.
Now, for people who don't know, how does that work when you guys split up directing, like to even have that part happen?
Sure, no. So it depends on your production.
Okay.
Right. So I think if you have a 10 episode season, something like that, maybe 12, 10, you're gonna have 3 directors typically. So you'll have 3 different teams. They'll get 3 apiece. Maybe one of them will be split by. Because it's 10, it's an even number. Maybe the supervising director will direct the first, will direct one, which was still the case on ours. But Emmett Yonemura, that directed the odd episodes, had not been hired yet.
Okay.
So yeah, typically you split those up and you get those 3, and you know, in the pipelines vary, but you got about. I get the script. I got about a few days, maybe a week to digest it. Then I assign out the script, and I have 3 storyboard artists.
Okay.
So I break the script into thirds. It doesn't have to be even thirds. They could be scenes that correspond with each other.
Okay.
Right? Or I could split it into acts. Like if I know somebody, if I got a big action piece that's the 3rd act, I might give the whole act 3 to somebody that's really strong at action. But essentially I break it into three sections, which is about 8 to 10 pages of a script, because a script page equals about a minute. Right? So a script page is normally around 27 to 30 pages or so. And so, yeah, each storyboard artist will take about 8 to 10 minutes of that. They come back to me in a week, and then I give them notes. Sometimes I draw stuff over for them. They come back to me again in 2 weeks. I draw stuff over for them. We meet and go through all of it. And then they get their final notes, and they take it to finish. And then I have a week to like get it ready for the editor.
Now, are you and the other directors like communicating with each other?
For sure, especially in a heavily serialized show like X-Men. They are standalone, but you know, we have arcs, especially in a show like X-Men, right? And I think that's almost with any show, because like you have arcs, right? And so you want to make sure that you're communicating.
When it's a real show, like sitcoms will have like, you know, 3 episodes back to back, but have nothing to do with each other, you know, and that thing. But the way that X-Men 97 flowed,
right?
So even like how you're saying, you know, you had the even numbers, you know, he had the odd. If y'all didn't communicate, I'd have been even more shocked. But but it makes so much sense, because of the way it flowed. So I'm telling you, like the fact that it was nominated, I'd have been mad if it wasn't.
Thank you.
Like when
I appreciate that.
When I tell you, like, of course, you know, for those who love X-Men, like that's, of course, it's X-Men. Like X-Men's like probably one of my favorite Marvel entities, like the part of it.
Yeah.
So the show itself, but like for 97 to come back and the way it did, you know, where it literally continued right after, and then it went further. Yeah. Like I was talking with some friends where we're like, yeah, this couldn't have even happened, you know, in the original series. Like the show would have been done 2 seasons in, if it would have made 2 seasons. Yeah. But the fact that you guys did it, I'm gonna say flawlessly.
I appreciate that.
I'm not even being strong. Like y'all did it flawlessly.
Thank you.
For that to happen, because it was what, 20 years past?
Yeah, it was 20, which is wild. But
like, did you feel pressure in that to say, "Oh man, like I got a lot to build up"? Like what?
I don't think so. I mean, and thank you. I appreciate that. It's always nice, you know. I do these things in a vacuum sometimes, and you know, like I crawl out of my cave, and I'm like, y'all feeling it? Like that's dope.
No, that was a well deserved, like that show.
Thank you, man.
We're definitely waiting for more. We're waiting to see where this is going, because it was crazy.
Yeah, I appreciate it. No, I think I didn't feel any pressure, because I genuinely love the IP. You know, like, and I've always seen X-Men in my mind. I've always seen it moving a certain way, and so the way that I've always pitched for us to approach the show, is, you know, you remember these beautiful TMS intros. TMS being Legendary Animation Studio, right? They done like Silverhawks, Thundercats, Batman animated series, all these famous intro sequences, Cops, Mask, all these ones. But the animation didn't look like that episode to episode because it'd be too expensive.
Right.
And it's also hard to scale that kind of stuff over 24 episodes, right? So essentially their intro sequences are the thesis statements for those shows. And I was like, yo, but we got the budget to make the whole show look like the intro.
And it did.
So why would we dial back, right? So that was the way we approached it, right? And then also the key thing is you got to make it the show that you remember it as. You're not making the show. When you think back on that show, you fill in stuff with all this other contemporary things. You go back and you look at stuff, and this is not the original show is legendary, right?
Absolutely.
So it's an honor to be a part of that lineage. But you remember some of these things more grand than they were because you were younger.
Yeah.
Right. So we just wanted to make the show that we remembered it as. That's the key.
And I'm trying to tell you, it was the feeling, you know what I'm saying? We're going to go break the fourth wall here.
Word.
Cameraman right now, he nodded his head because he knows, the fact that...
That's what's up.
We literally... First, anytime you hear about sequel series or things like that, it's always that nervous, what's going on? What's happening?
Right.
But X-Men was one of those, oh, what?
Yeah.
Okay, now we got to see where it's about to go. Then, they're like, hey, make sure you rewatch these past episodes for it to make sense here.
Right.
And you're like... Dang, I ain't watched the original show in I don't know how many years. Let me go refresh. And then you're like, wait, what are they about to do? So the fact that it was so much going on in that in 97.
Yeah. There's a lot happening.
That it was this was the movies that we wanted.
Yeah.
And it's to get it in only 10 episodes. One, I'm happy you did 10 episodes because all these 8 episodes, 6 episode things.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to do a full. We squeezed so much into those 10.
You did,
as well,
but it didn't feel like it was squeezed.
Right.
It didn't feel like there was any filler episode. It didn't feel like there was anything that was wasted. Everything made sense. Everything connected back to the original show. So even if, like you said, you didn't remember, you remember the feeling when you were a kid watching it.
Right.
But to even have it now to watch it and say, oh, yeah, this is why I connected it. Or even stuff back then is now making more sense. And the fact that, today's time and, which is how TV shows and streaming, SEC type stuff goes, you can go there now.
Yeah, you can.
And y'all went there.
Yeah, it's streaming, so we could do a little bit more. It's Disney, and it is a fine line.
Listen.
But we were able to do it. And shout out to all the writing staff.
Yes.
They were the ones that seamlessly wove all that stuff. We, of course, as directors, I don't want to go without mentioning them. And then Bo DeMeo, our showrunner at the time, he laid out this amazing story, and it was damn, this is a lot that's happening in 10 episodes. But coupled with an incredible team, I think we did a good job. So I'm glad.
Do you have a particular episode that's the ones you directed? That's your that was the one that made you go, I know you love them all, but is it that one that you knew when that part happened, you were like, okay?
Yeah, for sure. Well, there's two. The Magneto speech in episode 2 when he starts spitting bars.
Oh yeah,
because Magneto is my guy, and that was an amazing thing about Bo's vision when it came to that was Magneto is right.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean? In the same way that we resonated with Killmonger, right? It's Magneto was right, bro, the whole time. And so being able to highlight that, I think is dope because, we had a very diverse team that resonates with them in a way that, maybe not in past years. So, yeah, no, that was great. So that one, and then episode 8. So episode 8, Nightcrawler, and we can spoil a little bit.
Look. It's been nominated, man. We talking about it right now.
Cool.
If you don't know, then you need to go rewatch. We're telling you what you need to go see.
Yeah, that's how I feel. So episode 8 is one big action set piece.
Yes.
And so there's a fight scene with Wolverine and Nightcrawler in the infirmary. And I just love that. Also, the car chase scene, which was like a James Bond chase scene. So shout out to Ibrahim Jara, Marvin Britt, they boarded on those two sequences, which were just amazing. So yeah, and they had been my anchors throughout as well because I had a couple people that board artists that we had changed throughout the middle of the season. But watching them both grow on that show, and they both brought totally different kind of action movies in the same 26 minutes, and I got to draw. So I sprinkled some Chase on it.
Okay.
And I got to draw Nightcrawler inside his Banff,
Yo,
for the first time. I mean, we've seen a version of it, but not like this, though, from somebody else's POV.
But even outside of that, the fact that we're seeing it from this particular like universe.
Facts.
Like, that was, again, every episode had like a, like, no, they didn't just.
Yeah, we tried to think about it like that, too. Like, one episode, you just got one moment that just like that just sticks to your ribs. You know what I'm saying? That's the best way to kind of approach it.
It was never one, though.
Yeah, it was always a bunch.
It was always a bunch.
Yeah.
I got to be the guy to ask. We getting to season 2?
Yeah, for sure.
Can you tell us when?
I can't tell you when.
Okay.
I can't tell you when.
No little guesstimated time, something.
I can't do that either because they got the snipers out, yo.
You
see I'm looking around.
Look.
Yeah. But it is happening. Season 2's been in production for a while. So well over a year. So we are currently working on that, trying to get that ready. I'll go as far as to say we got certain things that are already been shipped over to be animated, but I can't say much more than that.
Hey, look, I'll take what I can get. I don't want to.
But it's happening though.
Because again, the show was so amazing, and it literally left us at a spot that like it can't just be this.
Yeah.
Some shows, it's a one-off. Cool.
Yeah.
Like we don't. The more you do, then it's starting to it's starting to lose the value. But that right there, nah. We need another. What the first series was? What, 5, 6 seasons?
5 seasons.
Yeah. We need
5 seasons.
We need to double up so we can make this all happen.
Yeah, it's dope, and also continuing some of the arcs from the first show and embellishing on some of that stuff. But this was always kind of planned as a multi-season show, so you are setting up things for the long run and stuff like that as well, that exists outside of just one season. So that's the beauty of being able to plan for it like that.
Because the finale, if y'all didn't come, you can't drop us with that.
Oh yeah,
that was a now. This is canon with the MCU now, right?
It's not canon.
Not canon.
I would say no. I mean, we've always functioned as it not being canon.
Okay.
Now,
because there was a point, people were talking when we saw The Watcher.
Yeah, but The Watcher sees everything.
But we ain't never see The Watcher.
That's true.
Until we,
that's true.
Yeah,
that's true. But the way that we've always approached it is like in the Marvel universe generally, every important event, the Watcher's there.
Okay,
that's his job, right? So he sees Uatu, so he sees everything. But because the Watcher has been such a prominent figure in What If, and it's also Disney Plus, I think people just assume that. But we have always functioned that it is not part of the MCU.
So
that's why we're able to do cool stuff because it takes place in the 90s, and it's a little different.
You have finally cleared that up because that right there has been the point that I've needed to know.
Yeah.
So I can know how to view this.
Yeah.
And I appreciate knowing that.
Yeah.
Because again, love a good Easter egg, but I love just the fact that now we know, how to watch something.
Yeah. It's a standalone. It's an extension of that 90s universe, right? So, and I think that the Claremont stuff that was 70s, 80s, but a lot of the visual representation of the X-Men, that was like that during that Jim Lee run, and as far as art is concerned, right? So. And then the TV show, the Marvel game. So we just kind of fell in love with that 90s as a culture, fell in love with the 90s X-Men with their designs and stuff. So
I wish there was an X-Men 97 game right now. Like that would
be fire.
Go crazy.
We had that Mojo episode, and I was like, yo, y'all got to make this. Y'all got to make this.
We're going to make it happen. Somebody's going to do it. It has to be done.
Yeah, we got to pressure them.
Now,
put that pressure on.
Now, if you were in the X-Men, what would your power be?
Man, I go back and forth with this a lot, more often than I'd like to admit, to be honest. But people say a lot of stuff as far as powers go. I think that I'm not gonna be the nerd and be like, the Phoenix is not a power set because that's like a multi-universal being. But if I had to choose one, I probably would I'd probably be Wolverine's, have his power set. Because at the end of everything, he's always the one that's alive. And I think it'd be interesting to watch the evolution of just people, right? So it always feels like at some point in time, humanity always ups the ante because they got one up genetically by the mutations, and then they merge with technology and they become an elevated species. But then when that happens, they continue to evolve and they essentially become the Phalanx, which is like the Marvel version of the Borg, right? Where it's just like they're hive-minded, sentient kind of technology thing. and the Phalanx owns all the space that the Shi'ar and the Kree don't own. So it's deep Marvel lore here, right? So
he does his research. He's not just.
This is what this is our.
He lives this.
This is my shit.
He lives this.
So I think that for sure, he's always there. He always exists. So
you said earlier he was immortal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's essentially immortal. You know, so they've written him in different ways in recent years where he's got like the adamantium poisoning because of like Old Man Logan and stuff like that. But in the more recent stuff and some of the Hickman stuff, like what's it, the Powers of 10 and that kind of stuff, he was alive at the end of it again. So I'd probably say Wolverine. I think that'd be cool.
Okay, man, look, but if not Wolverine, be the Phoenix. If you had to go there, if you could go there, or we could describe what the power actually is or how to describe it, but it'd be something along the lines of the Phoenix, because the Phoenix is also immortal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. See, I'm being greedy. I'm trying to be alive.
I mean, look, ultimately, you've already done enough work to where you are immortalized, and you've done enough stuff to where like your name will, move on with the history of things. So it's like, for that to be how you're moving. And it's not on some like, your ego tripping. It's just you want to do things inherently to stand the test of time. Yeah,
you want to add quarters to the immortal meter, man. That's what I try to do all the time. That's why I try to do the work that I want to do. Effectively, that's what we do, right? I'm immortal through the nature of my works. I'll give you I would say that if taking immortality off the table, because it's more about how I want to witness things and document them, I'm being Storm. Because she can control powers on a molecular level. So it's not just, there's other, see, we're going to get deep into it. I'm gonna say Storm, though, for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay. Yeah. Look, I'm not even mad at that. Me, anytime anybody asks that, I always say teleportation.
I'm not mad at that either.
So for me, it's only because, like, that idea of having to get up, drive, or do whatever, I'm like, I just need to blink.
LA traffic, I might change my opinion if you ask me next week when I got to go to work.
So stuff like that. Like, I used to always want to control, water, like the elements and things like that. Yeah. So Storm and the idea too, but teleportation, like Nightcrawler used to always be one of my favorite. Just for the simple, he boom, boom, going where he's going. But
also, Storm is Omega level, so she
is Omega level.
So that means she's not limited to the Earth. Her powers work in space and everywhere.
And I can't wait to see that in season 2 of X-Men '97. Because we've got some little, we see what happened here. Anything is possible in X-Men '97. We don't know what's going to happen. He's making the face because he knows he just can't say anything. And it's okay. But we know. We know. Now, in between X-Men '97, are you working on anything else? Or is that the main focus right now? Are you working on any project that you can tell us about?
Yeah, no, there's a couple things. I think 1 or 2 got announced, so I was able to contribute to my boy Tyree Delahaye. Shout out to him. He's directing one of my, consider him like a big bro, directing a movie at Sony called GOAT.
Okay.
So be on the lookout for that. That's real cool. I'm happy to be a part of that. I still teach twice a week on ProjectCity.tv, which is dope. I teach like storyboarding and design stuff, and I also use that as an opportunity to work on my a couple of my personal projects as well, which I got a really dope one, if I can plug that too. It's called, I've been working on it. I've been working on it for a while, but behind the scenes. So, I haven't been able to, I'm not putting anything out of it yet, but it's a cosmic horror Western called Die Laughing, which is really dope. And then I've got another one that is like a love letter to a lot of stuff that I also, all the things that I make essentially are kind of love letters to the stuff I grew up watching. A lot of anime I grew up watching. So that one is real cool. It's like this really dark Western in the vein of like a Kawajiri movie, not so gratuitous with everything, but like Ninja Scroll or Wicked City, but with the black lead in a Western setting, because they don't leave it. They take us out of those stories like we weren't there.
Right.
There were probably more black cowboys and ranchers than anybody else, So I don't even say probably, I'm pretty sure it was actual fact, right? So I just wanted to do something to highlight that as far as that goes. And I got another one as well that is a kind of like a sci-fi future, alternate future take on a few things, but super influenced by Cashern, some cyberpunk elements in there as well. And it's called Rawsome, which is really dope. And then I have a space opera as well that I've been working on called Sola, which I've been putting together with my homegirl Leor Barris.
Okay.
So she's helping me with story and writing on that, and we're trying to make something really cool as well. So drastically different projects, but that's what I'm doing on the side.
I love the fact that you're still doing things that's keeping you fulfilled. You still have your passion projects you're working on. I mean, don't get me wrong, everything you're doing is still a part of your passion. Like nothing, you're not doing stuff for just jobs anymore.
Nah.
But it's the fact that you're still creating, you're still working on, things, you're still paying homage to your inner child, that kind of thing.
That's what you got into it. That's what I got into it to do. I try never to lose sight of that, because that stuff fulfills me spiritually.
Yeah.
And it's cool to do work, but it goes back to the dream theme.
The dream.
Right?
We're here.
That's what I got into it for.
That's what DreamCon is about.
Yeah, so I want to take all that knowledge I've acquired on working on these other various projects and then pour that into my own stuff and do something that is close to me and is honest to the kind of stuff that I want to see. Okay. And it hopefully inspires people in the way that I've been inspired by the things that I watch.
Okay. Now, I mean, is there anything you want to say to the people? Because I know there's a lot more con to experience, you know what I'm saying? We want you to be in DreamCon. We appreciate you stopping by. But is there anything else you want to drop, say to the people, to the world?
This is heavy. Because I'm like, no, I don't have nothing heavy. It's like, it's pressure. I would say just, be honest. If you're, especially this, I'm sure this place is full of creatives. Just be honest to yourself. I think that honesty in artwork or any other form of expression, it stands out, right? That will always rise to the top because there's value in being vulnerable and taking risk as far as being a creative, So, don't be safe. Push limits, push the boundaries of everything that you want to do. One of the most important things I would say as a life lesson, I think this came from Ron Swanson, but he was like, don't half-ass one thing. I mean, don't half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing. And so that is kind of difficult. That's kind of difficult when you're spinning multiple plates. But I do think that you should commit to, as a creative, sometimes you become guilty of hopping around project to project because you get infatuated with aspects of another one. But try to finish things because this industry, as far as entertainment and animation goes, the jobs go to the people that finish things.
Right.
That's not so much to say. That's why certain things you can see, you're like, and this is not me judging things, but things can be kind of mid, and it's like, how is this aggressively mid stuff coming out? But it's like, that person maybe got that job because they finished stuff. So, you can't just be on your own thing and think, oh, this is the greatest thing ever, but then you don't execute, all the way through because the person that can finish stuff is going to be the person that's going to be trusted with that budget. So I would say those are things that, those are tenets for people that I would give them gems.
Are you a poet too?
I'm not. Is that poetic?
You dropping bars. I'm just saying.
I've been,
you was keeping
dealing with Magneto all the last 3 years. You know what I mean? He be dropping bars, yo. I almost wore my helmet today, but I was like, it's hot in Austin right now.
I mean, look. Yeah, it'd been hot, but I mean, it would have been on brand though. Would have made more sense.
Facts. No, but no, those are things I truly believe those things. So it's easy for me to regurgitate that kind of stuff because it's like, I think that I just keep coming back to that. And as soon as I approach life in that way, with the level of discipline, I've started to see things change. And it's not that I wasn't finding success prior.
Right.
But I think that people around you notice that stuff. You know what I mean? And so, then that opens up another lane of opportunities for you most of the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, where can the people find you?
So you can find me. I'm almost like a ghost online, but I do so much NDA work. I don't put a lot of things up. But as far as like wanting to come and see any of my stuff, I put up stuff whenever I have an opportunity to post stuff. I put stuff up on Instagram. You can find me on Saint Chase. It's SaintChase. So Instagram.com/Saint Chase. I'm on Twitter as the Chase Conley. I also teach twice a week on the teaching platform with the homies called ProjectCity.tv. Come holler at us. We've got several different types of classes up there that you could take, workshops and things like that. And also, we have a subscribed version where you can come join us monthly, and we rotate teachers every month. And we just stream and give out game as far as like how to get into animation, what to do, what these jobs entail, and, dive into the technical aspects of that stuff as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Chase, we appreciate you for stopping by, chatting
bro.
with us. We appreciate that you're here.
It.
And I hope that you enjoy the rest of the week. Are you going to be here for the whole weekend?
I'm going to be here for the whole weekend. I'm chilling.
We love it. So we hope
to
see. We hope to see. We hope you enjoy it and everything that you thought it was. We hope it's more than that.
Oh, for sure. I got a table downstairs that's for me, but I'm like, I'm out on the floor. I'm trying to see people. You know what I mean? I've been walking around the whole time. I didn't even know I had a table until I went down there. I was like, oh, well, I'm out and about. So I just want to, I'm meeting people and running into people and enjoying the city and enjoying the invitation. So I appreciate that.
I appreciate it. Yeah. So if you're around and you see Chase Conley here, say what's up.
Say what's up, man. I'll be chilling. I might have a scowl on my face because it's sunny outside, but that's cool.
If you didn't catch him this year, catch him next year.
We're going to be here next year.
Well, we're going to make sure it happens. But I'm Dion Tillman with DreamCon. We appreciate you, Chase Conley.
Appreciate it, man.
We're here, DreamCon 2024.